I like that. All right, let's blast off. Luigi's getting perp walked. Looking hot as fuck, honestly. Like, respect. Can we get XQC on with Alex Press again? Yeah, we should get XQC on to hear what his feedback is on terrorism designation. Like the classification of terrorism. I think he would be fantastic at educating people on that. I've heard that he had a lot of issues with what I was saying about like how terrorism charges automatically are a political charge, and simply focusing on the Google definition of terrorism is going to lead you astray. We got to get XQC on to hear about his opinion on Syria. Also, yeah, I've had XQC on with Alex Press in the past on this broadcast. It is kind of crazy because like a lot of people used to be infinitely more charitable, and over time they have just grown so resentful. And it's kind of sad to see XQC being one of them, you know, obviously. Because like back in the day, I think XQC was interested in hearing about different perspectives that he wasn't privy to. Like he would totally be down to talk to a person like Alex Press, but his brain has just been fucking melted over the last couple of years of booking over and over again. You know what I mean? And going to kick and shit. So whenever he tries to make forays into politics, like every now and then he'll have like a good take. Back in the day, he used to have a lot more good takes overall because I think he led by empathy and charitability and trying to understand like where people were coming from. Oh my God. Oh my God. This one banged. What the fuck? Trump bombed Syria, Yemen, Afghanistan, and Iraq during his presidency, and here's you wearing a Trump shirt shaking Trump's hand. God damn, what a fucking abysmal ratio for the juicer. Juicer got 16K off this. Haas Twitter on top. That's crazy. That's crazy. Anyway, listen, like I said, I just wish, because I saw a tweet from someone earlier today about Ethan, and I forgot that like we've had so many conversations in terms of like charitability. I think this is a great example of this. Okay, this is not drama. Okay, don't freak out. Don't get into like drama shit. But someone posted this morning and I saw it on a 2020 episode of his podcast. Ethan Klein agreed with the same analysis of 9/11 that he's been attacking Comrade Casey Frogan and Real Wowmouth over in recent months. It's kind of depressing to see how open-minded he once was, given how reactionary he's become. And like, this is like, whenever I see older content from people that I was friends with or people that I used to interact with, it is kind of sad to see like where they're at now in terms of like what they're. Ben Shapiro retweeted this. It's not a joke. What is this? They're hitting Luigi with terrorism charges. Oh, brother. After thorough research, I found this. Are there any civilians harmed by Luigi? Yeah, the dude who got murdered, dumbass. Anyway, you extended infinite charity to that guy is sad. No, because like, dude, it's not me extending charity to people. It's charity being extended to me. Okay. That's what it is. Like that's what this is about. Always going to be charitable across the board, no matter what. But here, look at this. Just listen to this fucking 4-minute video really quickly and then interpret it whichever way you want. But this is the first interaction that I ever had with Ethan Klein. This interaction was so positive that it led us to literally make the podcast Leftovers together.
Incredible. It's actually incredible that this was the ending sequence of Rambo 3. It says this film is dedicated to the...
Stop covering drama, man. Man, shut the fuck up. This is not fucking drama. Take a week off, okay? This is a much larger, much broader point, okay? A lot of people look at this and they go, oh my God, Ethan Klein on screen. This is drama. It's not, okay? I am not covering drama. This is not to like finger wag at Ethan. This is not to be like, look at how hypocritical he is. This is a much broader point that I'm trying to make, which is that like there was a point where a lot of people from XQC all the way to Ethan Klein that were infinitely more charitable, infinitely more understanding, and trying to figure out the world and not just fucking immediately reacting back with negativity.
Brave Mujahideen fighters, and these guys were the guys. Tell me about the legacy of the Mujahideen fighters.
You're not saying
So
it right.
they are.
Yeah, this was not real, by the way. The VHS. This is not a real flick, or rather, the movie is real, but this part was not real. This was edited.
Try my best.
It's a Berenstein's Bears moment.
They're fighter troops in the region, and they were fighting against the USSR at the time, and that's why we armed them, because we needed them to fight against the USSR in the region in the Cold War era.
Yeah.
And then some of them became more. Some of them decided, well, America is bombing the shit out of us too. Well, fuck them. And the simplest way to describe it is that they, much like ISIS and every single other militant faction, formed more radical and anti-Western militant factions with American training and American arms, and then started fighting America.
So it's kind of a beautiful irony, isn't it? So that's why that's what you meant when you said the brave fighters.
Yeah, and it would be ironic if after like the seventh oopsie, you got to recognize that it's probably just being done deliberately so that you can justify further engagement in the region and further destabilization in the region, because it keeps happening. We keep arming a certain sect or a certain militant group, and this happens in Latin American countries as well. We arm a certain group.
The mic is not terrible. It's just that it has a different condenser and a, like, I just had different settings, different sound settings, man. Just stop focusing on that.
That group becomes even more violent. There's even more destabilization, especially after like bombing campaigns or sanctions that kill hundreds of thousands of people, like in Iraq. And then that militant group is like, well, now it's our territory. We can just take over and do whatever the fuck we want.
Yeah, I mean,
and they get even more radical.
What happens when you give the craziest people military weapons and training, and then just let them do their thing? I mean,
in a lot of instances, it's not even directly a consequence of their like ideology or Islam or whatever. It's literally that they just have no other options. If you grew up in Iraq and your entire country is bombed in the shit, your infrastructure is eviscerated, you have no future opportunities, you have no options, and your family members have been killed, then they feel like, well, this guy who is a little bit crazy, definitely real crazy, preaching all this hatred towards America, maybe he has some good ideas. And that's how a lot of people find themselves at the precipice of radicalization. Like Taliban increased its numbers and influence in Afghanistan after the American invasion, which of course is not that surprising. And that is despite the fact that the American forces there killed a fuckload of members, and yet their ranks are stronger than ever. And now America is negotiating with them as a legitimate entity in the country. Like they are a powerful and legitimate force now, almost directly as a consequence of American imperialism.
The reason why I'm pointing this out is not to be like, look at Ethan, like look at how much his attitude has changed. I think it's important to recognize how this change occurs. This is from 2020. This is the first interaction I've ever had with him. When he's interpreting what I have to say charitably, what I'm saying right here is no different than my analysis over October 7, my analysis revolving around Hezbollah, my analysis revolving around the Ansar Allah movement in Yemen. Okay? Nothing is different. It is virtually identical, 1-to-1. Okay? Because the fundamentals are the same. They have not changed. The players or the people, the militant factions might have some of them are from different backgrounds, some of them are Shia, some of them are Sunni, but the analysis is still the same, like how people are motivated, the way I see the world, right? The way I view the world, the way I interpret political conflict, global conflict, foreign policy, it's all the same. So my commentary has not changed at all. And I think that the issue is a lot of people will always say, Hasan, you've changed. You've become a different person. You've become significantly more radical. And it's like, no, I have not. And you just have to remind yourself that, like, I think the most significant component here is just charitability.
Imperialism and destabilization in the region.
How many Iraqis died in that That George Bush wore.
Chad is blind to analysis. They love good versus bad dynamic. You dogpiling on Ethan is what they crave. You explaining the situation and helping others understand your vision of empathy and charitability is annoying for them because they refuse to learn. Exactly. This is a very annoying part in the way that this community operates as well. The people that claim that they didn't know you had certain positions are disingenuous. You are one of the most consistent, stubborn, and message-focused people I've ever seen. If they claim they didn't know what you believed, they're either lying or weren't really listening. Yeah. Or the third thing, they were listening, but they weren't really paying a lot of attention, or they didn't have other underlying biases, or they weren't fucking primed by a drama farming YouTuber with no political background whatsoever, like a fucking Willie Mack show or any number of different like Keemstar orbiters. You know what I mean?
I'm not sure about the exact number that's always in contention, but paired up with like Bill Clinton era onward sanctions, like the immediate sanctions were I think 500,000, but I'm not entirely sure. They say to the tune of millions.
That's
crazy in Iran.
Yeah, like you don't understand that.
Yeah.
Like millions of people died from that. Of course, they're gonna be pissed off. I mean, what the fuck? That's crazy. Incredible.
So yeah, doing fun stuff is good because that's how I discovered you, reacting to the button dating stuff. Yeah. So I just wanted to point to this, and there are a million examples just like this one where I am advocating very consistently for these same exact values, and my analysis comes from recognizing the humanity of every single person. Okay? In this conversation, I'm quite literally pointing to a radicalization for members like ISIS militants, Daesh, and Al-Qaeda, like where their point of radicalization is. This does not mean that I'm pro-ISIS. Under no circumstances does anyone think I'm pro-ISIS. And not only that, but also I'm quite literally explaining like people who have done harm to America as an American citizen. So if I have this interpretation for America as an American citizen, okay, if I can offer this level of analysis for people who would kill me if given the opportunity with ease, okay, then why is it so hard to offer this same exact critical examination to other militant factions in this region? Militant factions that do not have imperial ambitions in mind in the same way that ISIS did. It's really interesting. Because they hate Arabs? Okay, brother, who the fuck do you think ISIS are? What are you talking about? I'm over there talking about like Al-Qaeda and ISIS. What do you mean? Like, if you can, Ethan has a capacity right there to extend charitability to my analysis. And this is before we even, made this podcast together. They're going along with bro tip stuff now and how you said it was sarcastic. No. First and foremost, that is satirical, okay? It was a shitty attempt at satire. And it was 12 years ago and deleted 12 years ago. And it is my political perspective, albeit still very progressive at the time, had a bunch of blind spots. Misogyny and also transphobia being two, key ingredients here in terms of like my own personal blind spots. And I've worked against them. I have learned. I have changed my opinion over the years. And it's not only something that I have talked about a million times over, but it's also something that has informed my viewpoint. Like it's something that I bring up voluntarily, regularly when talking about giving people the bandwidth to make mistakes and being more understanding of people when they actually demonstrate that they've changed. So that's it. It's not something that I've like sheltered. It is embarrassing. You know, so it's not like something that I love. It's not something I particularly enjoy. I also look like Steven Crowder, which makes it even worse in my opinion. Like I just straight up in those old ass fucking videos, I just look like Steven Crowder, which I fucking hate. God, I was so icky. But the point is, why do you condemn America's actions so strongly and yet don't condemn the actions of the militant groups when analyzing the motives? That's at the heart of their criticism. Yeah, because I think that the motives matter. I think that the motives matter. Do you think I don't condemn ISIS? What are you, fucking crazy? Like, first and foremost, I do. I criticize ISIS, obviously. Duh. No shit. What the fuck? I am not in any way, shape, or form even remotely supportive because motives and intention matters in that situation. Ideology matters. Motives matter. That is why I am not immediately readily adopting the new reformed HTS movement in Syria as like the principled secular reformers that will now create a fully formed, fleshed out, secular democratic republic in Syria. You know what I mean? But they are complaining about the words you use when talking about America versus these other groups and countries. Yes, that is a child's mentality. Of course, I'm going to criticize the largest military superpower that I contribute to with my tax dollars a lot more than I'm going to criticize militant resistance against the occupation that it brings about all over the globe. Yes. This is baby-brained. And I think the major problem here is that people don't want to think about America as being the bad guys. And that's it. That's it. When you are the big guy, when you have the biggest gun, when you have the most amount of power, you have the most amount of responsibility to do good. But America uses that power to do bad. Simply put, if you have a baby-brained attitude on this, of course I'm going to, you know, I'll explain it with clearer terms. We have the biggest stick. We're the biggest bully in the playground. The biggest bully in the playground ends up bullying and beating the shit out of everybody else. Sometimes people fight back. Do you think it's fair for the big bully with a gun? Do you think it's fair of me to say, hey, when someone slaps the bully back, the much smaller person slaps the bully back, how much time should I spend criticizing the person defending themselves? And not only that, but I barely have the capacity to change Americans' minds. And even if I were to change Americans' minds, we barely have the capacity to change the trajectory of American imperialism. So how the fuck am I supposed to finger wag at like Hamas and be like, hey, please release the hostages. What are you guys doing? Come on now. And they're just gonna be like, oh shit, dude. Hasan said that. We got to do that. Like I have no fucking power. I have no influence over them. I barely have influence over my own country. So to me, it always feels like it's just simple deflection. Whenever people are like, what about China? It's like, dude, we live in America and we can't even get America to change trajectory on things that the overwhelming majority of Americans want. Like even if we talk about abortion, right? It's a super precedent. It was considered a super precedent, the protection of abortion. And we don't have fucking any influence over the government. They just, you know, Supreme Court did that shit. So yeah, of course, I'm going to spend most of my time offering broad, sweeping condemnations over American empire because it dishes out the most amount of violence.